Okay. So today is Monday, February 8th, 2021. My name is Vivian Zhang, and I'm here interviewing Miss Ashley Lai and Miss Amiley Lai and Miss Elaine Won from Dumpling Haus for the Houston Asian American Archive. So could you guys briefly introduce yourselves, kind of where were you born and your restaurant?
Okay, I'm Ashley Lai. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. And just like a little bit about Dumpling Haus, we started our business in about 2016. Just started off as a small like pop-up that we were just doing like occasionally at one of the local coffee shops in Houston. We started doing more and more events and reaching out to like different farmers markets. And we did pop-ups and farmers markets for about 4 years. And eventually we added my sister Emily onto the team, and then we opened up a restaurant in the beginning of 2020. And yeah, we've been operating there since January of 2020, and we've been open for a little over a year now. Yeah. And we serve mostly it's Cantonese and like Taiwanese food. My mom is from Guangzhou, and so she, knows a lot about Cantonese food. And my dad's from Taiwan, and so we have some of the Taiwanese influences there. And so I would say it's pretty authentic, but it's definitely like Chinese food for Chinese Americans and Chinese Americans who bring their parents to, and really accessible for everyone. So.
I'm Emily. I was born in Los Angeles, California. I joined Dumpling Haus about 2 years ago, and that's when we started getting a little bit busier with festivals, and then we joined the Urban Harvest Farmers Market on Saturdays, and that's when we were selling a lot more like frozen products and retail so it's more accessible for households to cook dumplings. They're easy to follow instructions. And then, we opened a restaurant last year, January, and the rest is like history, I guess.
If you introduce me.
My name is Elaine Won. Born in China, Guangzhou, and just because I love to cook, and then I'm making dumplings since I was very young, and since I came to the United States, and then I just keep making by myself. So a few years ago, and then she asked me, can you do something, for the coffee shop? And then I say, only I can do is a dumpling, And then she said, fine, do the dumpling. And just, really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great. So how did you guys end up here in Houston?
That's for you. How did you move to Houston?
I don't know. That was over 30 years ago, and then my boss told me, "Oh, Houston, just like Hong Kong,
Where were you before?
Yeah, I was in Chicago. It's real cold, and then he went to Houston, visit somebody, and then came back and then told me, oh, Houston's so nice. That's so, he didn't say the weather, he just say, just like Hong Kong, and then I was like, oh, let me go see it, and then I came here.
It was not like Hong Kong.
It's not like Hong Kong. I mean, the weather, you can imagine that 35 years ago is, nothing, and then, so kind of I enjoy the weather anyway.
Mm. So what were your first impressions of American food when you came to the United States?
I used to go to the restaurant, I forgot it. What is it in Chicago? That was they had barbecue ribs and the lobster. That's why I just went every week. And then nighttime is a dentist for coffee. Yes. I love those barbecue ribs over there. And then I got to Houston, and then I love barbecue. And then I went to buy barbecue pork, and end up I say, oh, one time is not that you know, something, what, smell or something. I say, oh my God, I need to do it by myself, you know. That's why, and then all the time I do a barbecue pork. That's
Mm.
my favorite, you know. Favorite is a barbecue pork.
Yeah. What about your impressions of like Chinese food in America as well?
Chinese food in America, homemade.
Mm.
No, you
So
said
like, did you ever
yeah,
did you ever go out to
like
eat?
egg foo young, and like you said, that's not even true.
Yes, I
Yeah.
came here, and then I helped my friend, and then he you know, he's sick or something, and then his boss asked me to, you know, can you come to help me? And then I started the fast Chinese food restaurant just for takeout, and do the fried rice and egg foo young, chop suey. Say,
Mm.
oh my God, that's not Chinese food, you know. And then I started, you know, just cooking for myself. Most of Chinese food I like to cook by myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand that too. Can you guys, any of you guys can answer this, but can you explain the significance of dumplings in like Chinese culture and like specifically in your own lives as well?
Well, for me, so like I really love dumplings a lot, and like one of the like growing up eating them, you kind of take them for granted. But when I went off to college, I went to college in San Antonio at Trinity, and my mom, she used to bring me like freezer bags full of dumplings, and she would sneak more vegetables in them because she was always worried I didn't eat enough vegetables at school. And so she would make this dumplings, and it was like 95% vegetables.
Mm.
And she would, you know, like like stock up my freezer all the time. And so like I just, you know, every time I was feeling a little bit homesick, I would always make the dumplings, and it's like, you know, nutritious, but then also it reminds me of my mom's cooking. And then for me, like dumplings has been just like a thing to remind me of home all the time. Like whenever I go travel or live abroad for like an extended amount of time, I love sharing dumplings with my friends. When I studied abroad in college in Spain, I was really missing Chinese food, and the Chinese food there was similar to like Chinese American food. I didn't really recognize it. I was like, oh, this is a Chinese restaurant, but I don't really know what these dishes are. And like, you know, I even used to Cantonese food. I was like, oh, this is like Cantonese food. And so one day, like one of my friends, she invited me over to her house to cook because I wasn't able to use the kitchen at where I was staying. And I brought all the dumpling ingredients, and I was like, I'm gonna teach you guys how to make dumplings because I really miss them, and I know everyone would really enjoy making them. And so I've done that like a few places that I've traveled because I just love sharing that with people. And I always tell them like it's not as good as my mom's, but it's like, you know, I kind of use like a version of her recipe. So
Yeah, I love dumpling because my father is from military, you know, and then we used to eat a lot of the flour thing, you know, bread, noodle, and then in China, especially Guangzhou, Cantonese, they don't eat that much dumpling, you know, and we just kind of make it every week, and then people just look at, oh my God, making dumpling, you know. And then we just keep used to it, you know, me and my brother, and then making every week. And then we're making, and my mom cook, and then you can save it for the next day, you know. And then after I got here, I feel dumpling is kind of convenient, you know, you don't have to defrost. So that's why never short dumpling in my freezer, never. So many years, you know. After I bought something from outside, I said, oh, doesn't taste that good, you know. And I thought, you know, make it for myself. Yeah. And then most my friend, you know, whatever they came over, and then I just say, oh, you want some dumpling? Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys mentioned that you opened up the first pop-up for Dumpling House in 2016. Why did you decide to take like your love for dumplings and like this food to like a restaurant setting?
yeah, so the first pop-up we did was at the coffee shop, and I think we sold maybe less than 20 orders of dumplings, but she just really loved it. So we just did it mostly so that because my mom loves cooking. I said, you want to cook? And then she's like, I really like cooking those. She just sat there all night and only cooked maybe 15 to 20 orders. But then we did a bigger event and she's like, I really like this a lot. And so we kept looking for more stuff. One of the main reasons we wanted to open up a restaurant is when my sister joined the team. She had a lot of restaurant experience, and we were, excited for her to join us and be able to help us open up a restaurant.
Yeah. So you guys were pretty familiar with like Houston's food scene when you opened that pop-up, or like when you potentially opened that restaurant when Emily joined the team?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Emily, you can tell them your history.
So I was in the medical field and then did a part-time job as a noodle maker at a ramen shop. And then from then on, I learned like the ins and outs of even the kitchen, and then learning the kitchen line, prep line. And we as a family love to eat too. So we at least used to go out if she was here, like, as a family of 3, we got to eat a lot. And we're like critiquers too. We're also learning too. Like we always love like seeing what's trendy, and like people's palates are actually changing, and watching like cultural changes. And I follow like a lot of chefs to see like their intakes of like what they think of the Houston food scene too. So when I travel, I started eating more dumplings to see like, oh, like New York and LA, like those are food trendy places. And so then I was like, oh, like we could do something, because dumplings are becoming more and more approachable and people are curious. Like back then, I think when we were kids, like we would bring dumplings to school. It's kind of like embarrassing, like that was like 20 years ago, but like it's kind of embarrassing because people still didn't know what's happening. And then when I started working in the restaurants, kids were ordering dumplings and they were like, Mom, can I have well, I worked at a Japanese restaurant, the gyozas. And I was like, oh, kids know what gyozas are? Because when I was a kid, like my friends, like usually white American, like, or black, like they didn't know like what I was eating, like noodles. My mom made like sometimes congee. I'm like, like that oatmeal? I was like, oh, it's rice. So now I realize that mindsets are changing. And so I was like, this can be approachable. Like my mom thinks like Americans don't eat this, don't eat that. Like they only eat like specific palates. But I was like, no, like people are approaching dumplings like in a food trend type of way. And so I think that's what pushed us to believe in ourselves, that we could open a restaurant and change the narrative too about Chinese food, to be like not just like your average Chinatown cheap lunches. We were like, oh yeah, everything's handmade. Like my mom like shops like for everything by herself and like picks the ingredients, make sure like the quality is perfect, which is, it's almost like having your mom cook for you, or a Chinese mom cook for you.
Yeah, that's great. So what did the menu look like at the first like pop-up location? Like how many things did you offer?
It's all my favorite food. It's all everything, I cannot finish, I can finish, that's something I have to make. If I don't, people sometimes they ask me to make something, I say something I don't like it, I can't make it. So fried rice that's what I can eat every single day. Fried rice, the flat noodle, the beef, beef chow fan, I can eat every single time. And dumpling, I can eat all the time.
Chinese barbecue pork.
Yeah.
And then that's why we pop up at the we have this 3 kind of thing. And then later I keep, because I always make the barbecue pork. And then I was thinking, okay, I don't know how to serve to people, And later actually figured out, the barbecue pork slider, and then that's popular too. And for me, is keep doing it. Is they I don't know, they want to open a restaurant. For me, almost retire. I just think, I can do it one day a week, or maybe 2 days. I just think of 1 day a week. But after I make the dumpling, still have some, left over. Of course, it's frozen, say, I don't want to wait for the next event. I say, oh, can you find something else? I can, just make it fresh all the time. I just try to finish this one. I don't want to leave a pizza for a long time.
Yeah.
And then we find another pop-up, and then later I say, oh, you know what? We can do one more. And then find another one. So it end up 2 days a week and 3 days a week. Just like that. And then I was so enjoy it because no pressure, and then because I'm 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 getting old. I cannot do any. I mean, they say, oh, people say, oh, you open a restaurant. I say, no, 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 not for me, not for me. And then end up they see so many people love it, and then that's why they just try to do something. After they say it, I say, I don't know anything. I just know how to make dumpling. The restaurant, look at the menu, is so many. I can't make anything else, just dumpling. And then they say, that's okay. Dumpling, noodle, that's fine,
Yeah.
So end up, we have the small menu.
Yeah, our menu
Yeah.
started with it was like more complicated in the beginning, like dumplings and like the stir fry stuff for pop-ups. And then like over time, as we did more events, we were getting more popular, and then our lines would get longer. So then we're like, we need to figure out a way to make things a little bit easier for us. And then we kind of consolidated our menu, and then like we didn't do like the per order fried rice anymore. We have this like famous popular dish called the chili garlic rice, which is like rice mixed with a very like labor intensive sauce, but at least like it's quick on the pickup.
It's really
So
flavorful.
it evolved to just like, oh, how can we get an order out within like 3 minutes? Because we used to take 10 minutes because we were just like chilling and like we weren't expecting a lot of people. And then when we started working like larger events, we're like, oh, we need to like just move product like faster. And
Yeah, the number one menu, our biggest concern was, do we want to eat all the leftovers for the rest of the week? And so we make, we buy the ingredients. We hope we sell like, 10 beef chow fins, but if we only sell 4, we will be eating 6 chow fins.
Yeah, we do that all the time,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a very reasonable explanation. So I know you guys pride yourselves in having like very like local and fresh like ingredients. So where do you source all of your ingredients from?
Yeah, so we shop at the local grocery store, so we don't work with a lot of like individual farmers because of the amount that we need to use, but we do go to the farmers market every week, and so we have some dishes that we serve at the store that we are able to use the same farmers every week. We go to like at the Urban Harvest Farmers Market, you buy from Gunderman,
Atkinson.
yeah, and then some of the like local mushroom vendors. And so we have a dish at the store called the stir-fried market vegetables. And so we try to every single week buy like the freshest vegetables, whatever's in season, to showcase like the what is available at the farmers market. Yeah. And then like for most of the stuff, like it's hard to find like all the local ingredients for like ginger and like things that are like that we use so much of, but yeah, we go to she shops at the grocery stores in Chinatown to get like the freshest ground meat, and we grind our own meat too because it's hard to find like the quality that we want.
Yeah. So you guys have mentioned that like since that first pop-up in 2016, there's been like a lot of other locations. Like what are some other pop-ups that you guys have like done Dumpling Haus at?
Yeah, so we used to we used to go to a lot of bars before they were all closed. But we just kind of tapped into some of our connections at bars. So right after that coffee shop pop-up, one of our first pop-ups was at Grand Prize Bar in Montrose, and then we did pop-ups every week at Axelrad in Midtown, and then Johnny's Gold Brick in the Heights. Those are some of our earliest pop-ups that from our like the very, very beginning stages. And then after that, we started adding the farmers markets at City Hall every Wednesday, the Saturday market, and we also do the Friendswood Farmers Market. And then we also do a lot of vegan festivals. So our vegan dumplings are really popular, and I think that they're like some of the best vegan dumplings like I've ever had. And so that item became really popular, and we actually like built like a huge following in the vegan community, because our menu, even at the store now, is like probably about 50% vegan. And so we actually just really stay in touch with that community, and just continue to like serve a lot more like plant-based dishes.
Yeah. And I know that you guys also have like a physical restaurant location now in Sawyer Yards too. What was your journey like with like opening that restaurant, like transitioning from pop-ups to like having a restaurant?
You can start. You can start.
I think March in 2019, we were just like curious. I think like, oh yeah, like we knew someone that I think one of her friends was opening up a place, and so she recommended the broker to us, and we're like, oh yeah, we'll just shoot him an email. Sat down, he's like, I'll look. And for like the Heights and Montrose, all those locations are so expensive. Like, and also we were just, I think like building, I have built restaurants before, like seeing the construction of it and like the cost, and I was like, woo, like loans. We were just like, we didn't want to tap into that. So he kept sending us like empty build outs where we have to like construct everything. We can't do it. We have no financial capability to do that. And then just randomly, I think in June or July, he was just like, oh, like come look at this place. It just closed down. And there's still stuff in there, like kitchen stuff, and see what you think. And then we're just like, oh, okay, we'll look at it. And then we're like, I mean, like it's workable. Like the space needed some like fix up, but not a lot, because it was already a restaurant. And so within like I think 2 months or 6 weeks to 2 months, like we were already like in contract with the landlord. And it was rough because for us, we were not a business before. We had no like background in restaurant building. And it's like a lot of risk for a landlord to take in us, because we're just like small like family business. And so I think there was a lot of like risk that he felt, or the landlord felt. And then finally they're like, okay, like we want to give this, like they want to give us a chance. And she was in Australia at the time, so we're like different time zones, and we're like just trying to figure out like what to do next. And then finally, like I was like, I need you back here because you need to sign some bank stuff, and I can't. It's not emailable. Like you have to like come here. And so she's like, okay, I'm gonna fly back. And then yeah, she packed up all her things and came back. And by I think October 1st was when we signed the contract, and pretty much like she became a general contractor for 2 months, because we have no connections. We just had, my uncle built a lot of like furniture from scratch, a lot of the shelving, because my mom's brother is like a carpenter. So we were just like, whatever is like the most like financially efficient like way to open this restaurant, we want it. Like we'll try our best to tap into that. So I think we just did minor changes, and then I think the day before we opened, we barely had a sign up, and we had like a water leak too. Like we had a lot of like problems, and then everything just came together, and we just opened like on Chinese New Year last year.
Yeah, it was really funny because like we had only started looking at places in March, and my friend who introduced us to this broker is actually now our neighbor in Sawyer Yards. We've been friends for like 5 years. We just happen to have like both Asian American owned businesses right next to each other. And it was really funny because she said it took her 18 months to find the perfect space. And so I said, oh, okay, like a year and a half, like I'm gonna go to Australia, like I'm gonna go do like a working holiday, you guys keep me up to date with like if you find a space, probably like I'll be back definitely at the end of a year. And then 3 months after I got there, they're like, I think we found the restaurant. And I was like, I just got here, like just got here. So I like jumped on a plane, came back, and then because like she said, it was already a restaurant before, it really helped us out a lot. We didn't have to jump through as many hurdles as most like first new restaurants, and then we had a lot of I had a lot of help because my friend next door, she just opened her restaurant or her cafe or bake shop like 6 months before we did, so she helped me out a lot to like talk to people and find vendors and stuff like that. So and now it's been a year.
6
months
so
after.
you guys Yeah. Do you guys still do your like weekly pop-ups as well, like outside of your restaurant location?
Yeah, so like when we first opened, we were still going to Axelrad. Like my mom was still going to Axelrad on Friday nights after making dumplings for like 8 hours or 9 hours. She would go to Axelrad at night. And then the farmers market on Saturday mornings. But then since, COVID and like a lot of bars and places closed, we're not really able to do a lot of the pop-ups we used to do. And so the only one that we're still currently doing is Urban Harvest every Saturday morning from 8 to 12. And we just love that market because it's a really great lineup of vendors. And we have a lot of regulars there who have been with us for a long time and supporting us for a long time. Yeah.
How would you say like the pop-up versus physical restaurant environment is different?
Pop-ups much better.
So pop-ups are fun because especially like we get that face-to-face interaction.
It's a non-stop, and then you just cooking because I love cooking, just cooking all the time. Restaurant, in and out, you never know what happened. It's a lot of things to do at restaurant, and pop-up, you just prepare everything and then go set up and then do it. Yeah.
There's definitely like the adrenaline rush at some like pop-ups and festivals because like, especially if it's a busy one, we, basically just go like really hard for 4 hours and then we just like rest afterwards. At the restaurant, we're still building up our following. And so sometimes we're just like waiting for customers, looking around, like hoping people, find us or, come and check us out. Where at pop-ups, sometimes like we don't even have time to go to the bathroom. Like
10 hour, remember the vegan, the 10 hour, we never can go to the restroom.
Yeah. And all those festivals it's from like the morning because we have to set up and it's a huge setup time, like maybe like 9 a.m. and then we don't end up leaving until like 7 or 8 p.m. like because it's just the whole day. Like there's times at festivals that I don't ever really, we don't even look up because we're just like fixated. And then like some people will be like, I saw you, did you see me? I was like, I didn't see anybody.
Pop-up is just finish that day and then you can rest the next day. So you have to do it every single day, no matter what.
Also pop-ups, the menu is literally just dumplings, one noodle dish, one rice dish, like easy. At the store, like you could have a soup, you could have a noodle dish, you could have fried rice, and it's just like a more action, like this. And then when it's busy, it's like someone's ordering like maybe like a complicated order, like there's too many adjustments, like oh my gosh. But at the pop-ups, it's just like, what do you want? Dumplings, noodles with rice?
And at pop-ups, like we actually have like a really both at the restaurant and pop-ups, we have a really huge like percentage of sales are regular customers that literally come every week. So when we used to be at City Hall, it's like the same people from the same offices around the area that came every week. I was like, hey Jeff, how's it going? Hey Amy, like, like every single time it's the same people. And it's like a very different feeling because, it just feels like, oh yeah, like I know, like, we've seen these people every week for like 6 months. So, sometimes we have follow-ups like, oh yeah, this person was pregnant and now she has a baby and she shows me pictures of her baby.
That business is great for business too. So so you guys mentioned that like 50% of your menu is actually vegan. Like how did you decide to implement vegan options in like dumplings, which is usually a traditional like non-vegan dish?
What is it called? Because I never make vegan, and end up people asking vegan. She keeps saying, you need to make vegan. I say, I don't know what's vegan. I never eat a good vegan dumpling, And then after that, and then we went out, go to try to find a vegan dumpling, how it is. And well, it's just nothing. It's nothing inside, the meat one is a pop, and then the vegan is a flat. I said, how can people just eat the skin, they don't want to just eat the skin. And then I just figure out and try, put more things, see what happened, try so many times. And then after I make that, and then, they say they love it. And then I said, okay, let me do something else, try to change something, try to, many times. And then we got the vegan fest, right?
Yeah, vegan
Whatever.
festivals.
Started with the vegan fest. Oh my God, that's so busy. And then I told her we need to make more vegan thing because our business is, how we success because a lot of vegan people support us, That's why, vegan is a noodles vegan, rice is vegan, all the sides are vegan. So I didn't know, end up with so many, that's why I say we have to make very, very good vegan thing, That's why I still try to make something vegan thing. She said, yeah, very good, but we don't know how to call the name.
Yeah.
We don't know how to put on the menu. It's good, but
yeah, because it's
what's the menu?
You can't just put like soy like baked meat sauce. Like it's
Yeah, and then it was really funny because I said like, you have to make something vegan. She's like, I don't even know what vegan is. Can I put this? Can I put this? Because she
put eggs.
Because she like knows how to cook some vegetarian food because growing up, like we had some friends that were vegetarian, so she like cooked some vegetarian Chinese food. And then I also had like one of my best friends growing up was vegetarian, and so like every time she came over to my house, my mom would be like, oh, can she eat this? Like, and she would make like vegetarian spring rolls for her and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, and my friend like really, really appreciated because, she isn't able to eat a lot of like food because like, these different Chinese foods because they're not vegetarian. And so after like, we started doing the vegan dumplings, people were just like so appreciative. And then we just kept like going on with that. And every single thing she has like an idea of like, oh, what do you think about this dish? I was like, but can you make it vegan? But can you make it gluten-free? Like just trying to make food that's accessible for people because, like it's actually really easy for us to like, now that we have this mindset of making things gluten-free of,
that's
okay,
a
like
difficult thing,
how
vegan and gluten-free. That's very, very difficult.
Yeah, and so
for dumplings,
we're always asking these questions like, how can we allow more people to be able to eat our food and enjoy this good food.
Yeah, well, I think even for us, like we've both like been like vegetarian or vegan in some for a period of time, and I think going out it was really hard back in the day, like to find like a good solid meal that was vegan because it's like, well, I don't want to eat a salad or a veggie burger.
Yeah.
I also miss Chinese food, and like where can I get like that home cooked Chinese food that's vegan or vegetarian? It's like I think us like for when I was in ramen, I started seeing the food trend of like, oh, people are like telling me like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start like eating less meat, and then I'm like, oh, like we need to create more products than that because people, I guess it's just the way that the world is going too. Like a lot of people are being more educated about food or educated about where their food comes from, and even us, like we try to educate ourselves. So then like that's where we kind of push like the menus. Like I love this stuff. It's like I feel like we can make a vegan version of it.
Yeah, like only one that we're still stumped on is barbecue pork.
Yeah,
I've been able to make a vegan. She can keep trying.
One day. What do you guys think is like the advantage of appealing to Chinese food for Americans, like having the aspects of like traditional Chinese food, but also really following like what people are more aware of within their food, like these vegan options?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, like we've seen actually a lot of Chinese like vegetarians too. So like they have a lot of their like favorite dishes from growing up that they're not able to eat anymore because there's no vegan versions of it. And so it's funny because like people come and be like, oh my gosh, I love beef noodles. So I never found like a vegan version that even like has been similar. And so we're like, oh yeah, we have this dish that's like the vegan version. And people have we introduced these like very like traditional flavors. Like one of my favorites is the spicy Szechuan noodles, and it's like we have the spicy Szechuan sauce and it's super tasty. And we, people usually put like chicken crumbles or something. And we're just like, oh, let's just put mushrooms on it and like, make the sauce vegan with like, no like chicken MSG or like whatever they usually use. We're like, oh, like this is actually really good. And so all of our sauces we make vegan too, because we're like, we can put this on anything and put mushrooms with it and it still tastes like super tasty. Yeah.
How would you guys say that like Dumpling House differs from other Chinese restaurants in the Houston community?
For me, I think that our food is really a showcase of home style cooking. Like there's like there's so many kinds of Chinese restaurants, which I think like Houstonians are learning more about. Before it just used to be like Chinese as the general like word, but now you can say like, oh, are you looking for like Chinese American food? Are you looking for like more like Chinese Vietnamese food? Are you
Taiwanese.
Cantonese, Taiwanese, like Northern China? Like there's like more diversification and people are getting more educated about like the different regions. And so for us, like, trying to be able to like really, I think dumplings are very entry level where everyone can like enjoy them and they don't maybe need to like really know where it's from in China, because also there's like a lot of cultures and parts of China that eat dumplings. But some of like the more specific dishes, like there are braised pork belly, is like very traditional Taiwanese like food that probably anyone, like any Taiwanese American, grew up eating. Beef noodle soup too, and like we have like our barbecue pork, and so it's kind of like our home style versions of all these things, instead of being like, oh, this is like a master chef that's been like traditionally trained, like in Hong Kong or like Vancouver. This is like very, very home style cooking that you would expect, like if a Taiwanese family invited you into their house and invited you for dinner or lunch, like they would cook this for you, or like, my Cantonese mom, she has a party, she would cook these dishes for us.
Because they never can eat outside. Any restaurant, my food is they can eat it outside. What is barbecue pork? How do they make it? It's so different from outside. The dumpling is how do you make it? I say very, very simple. That's a Cantonese basic ingredient. It's nothing else. They don't put extra something. It's sugar,
soy sauce,
soy sauce.
cornstarch.
That's all the basic stuff. So that's why every time I go out to eat, and then I just try to figure out what they what it is, what they have, and then I just came home. If I love it, and then I try to make it. So it's not the same, but it's very similar. So that's why don't tell me, oh, that's not, I was like, well, that's my style. Like a Szechuan one time, and I went outside to try it. It is different, but I still like my style, See, that's the thing. And then I don't care how they do it. I mean, that's the taste. I like it. I just like the taste. So that's why we call this. And then like my very, very famous is a shrimp wonton,
shrimp and chicken dumplings.
That's my favorite, I that was almost 30 years ago. We went to Vancouver. And then we went to the noodle restaurant. I tried the dumpling, the shrimp dumpling, and after I ate it, oh, so good, even in China, that's my favorite. And then, oh, let me have another one, because she was little, she's 6 or 5 or something, and then very expensive at that time. 35 years ago it's over $1 per each, and only five in a bowl. And then we cannot share. I don't know how to share. I said, oh, give me another one. Let me try find out. Oh, I don't have money. And then only have that's a cash. Because they only get cash. Only have, I forgot, $6, $7 something. And then say, oh, give me the last one. And then we share again. After over 15 years later, I went again, and my classmate, I said, I want to go over there, and then they don't know which one. I said, I forgot the name, but I just know in Richmond. And then we try to find it, almost 8, 10 wonton noodle restaurant. Still cannot find it. After I left, and then I found out which one, but I already left.
Yeah.
And all the 10, they don't make that good as that one.
Yeah.
See, that's why whatever I love it, and then I just try to go back to try it again.
Yeah.
One day we'll find that place.
That's my favorite, you know?
Yeah, it's like a very traditional Hong Kong, like Cantonese style dumpling. It's like almost like a wonton, but it usually has a
because they don't have too much meat.
Yeah,
That's the thing, I love it. I don't like too much meat, you know. So that's why see outside the dumpling restaurant, they had a lot of meat on it, you know. It doesn't mean you put more meat, they love it, you know. I put most as a half. And then, you know, the shrimp chicken, they have bamboo, they have wood ear, you know, that's what I like. You know, I like the crunch inside.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to make it here, and then, but I say, oh, the soup, you know, they use the chicken broth, you know, chicken soup. But I say, no, that's not right. But they say, American people, they don't like that one, you know, they just like chicken.
Yeah.
That's why I switched to chicken. Actually, pork is more flavorful, you know, more juicy. But they say they like pork, chicken here. That's why I switched.
Yeah,
you know.
and it's a lot of our customers, like, they don't eat pork, or they like, you know, for religious or whatever other reasons, and so like we actually have like a more like veggie and like less red meat heavy menu because you know, we try, it's all about that accessibility and trying to keep it everyone can try it. And I think we're one of like maybe 2 or 3 restaurants in Houston that have this style dumpling. It's like Cantonese style dumpling soup, so it's like cool for people to like come from like different parts of Houston, and also like even one of her really good friends from Guangzhou came and he's like, this is really good, like there's
that's the best of best. You know? I don't know why he say that. I mean, and then the next day I bring his son, you know, bring his son and say, oh my God, so good. Can't, you know, Houston, you cannot find that good, you know. I didn't know. I know one restaurant is really good, you know, but now they changed the chef.
So it's hard because you know, it's like one of her favorite foods, so she always puts her favorite foods on the menu, so we can eat it all the time. I think
every time every day we make a barbecue pork, and then say they only listen so many thousands times and say, oh, I can have it every day. I can have it every day, you know.
And we do eat it every day, pretty much.
We eat every day, you know.
It's like that, like comfort food, you're like home cooking that you can just eat all the time.
For sure.
You know, you can imagine in Hong Kong, you know, in Hong Kong or China, the fast food for the office people, you know, every day is chicken, pork, barbecue pork chicken, or roast duck and pork, you know, just every single day they can eat it, you know, with rice.
Yeah, and people sometimes do, like, they come like 2 or 3 days in a row because they're like, that was so good. They come back and eat it again.
Wow. So I feel like
I just enjoy to cook. I started making something. I say, they say, you need to know the cost. I say, I just make sure people love to eat. I don't care. You'll figure out, and then I just make sure they love it.
And that's a huge thing about Chinese restaurants, like that makes us different, is that like we're not making food for like the restaurant setting. It's almost like she's making food for us. Like,
I'm making food for me, you know.
They're just like almost like, oh, does anybody want our staff meal? Like barbecue pork, dumplings, like this is what we eat every day. Like who wants to eat like what we eat? And when people are like, oh, that's really good, we're just like, oh, this is what we used to eat for lunch and like at school. You know?
Yeah. So I feel like in the past, like a lot of Chinese people will like open restaurants in terms of like a survival thing, because like they don't have anything else to do and like limited opportunities. But nowadays, like there's so many Asian restaurants, especially in Houston, that are just like very successful. So what do you guys think is the future of Asian restaurants, specifically in Houston?
I mean, it's definitely a new generation. It's still like very like culturally like it's I think there's more representation out there that to for people to be like, oh, I can do this. I think like we've seen a lot of successful people like a little bit older than us. We're like, oh wow, like they're opening businesses, like, and they're changing the narrative, and like they're putting like the modern day price on things, and like to showcase that it's, yeah, we're going a different direction. Chinese food can be very like on par with just any normal food. You can have like a braised pork belly rice bowl for lunch every day, and you don't have to eat a hamburger or like, you know, chicken nuggets. Like
Yeah.
on that level of like daily food, and like you don't have to just eat like, I don't know what people cook in American households, but people are making
grilled cheese and macaroni and cheese. I don't know.
Spaghetti. She thinks everyone eats spaghetti every day, and like
Yeah.
or like people are, I know like there's like moms that are like, oh, my son wants like my son's eating this like 5 dumplings a day for his school lunch, and he has his little like heated thermos, and he has like his little soy sauce packet, and he'll just like open it and like share. Like sometimes his friends will be like, what's that? And he like can explain it. And I was like, oh wow, like because this new generation of like food culture is like being shared. I feel like as we as Asian Americans open restaurants, people that next generation is eating out more because that's what they grew up with now. Like there's kids that are growing up eating dumplings. So then when they become, I don't know, college people or career people, they're going out and they're like, it's worth it because it reminds me of like, it's nostalgic almost for people that are not Asian American to eat these foods. And they are finding that I think that they don't actually know the old style Chinese food because they're not going to the like Chinatown to eat these foods. They're going to go to the places that are opened by these new generation Asian Americans.
Yeah, I think like we were talking about recently that we actually wish we saw more Chinese food entrepreneurs because we actually have been seeing a lot more Filipino food and Vietnamese like food entrepreneurs, like, you know, maybe doing baking things. And we are actually like, you know, we try to tell our story more and encourage more Chinese Americans to pursue like this field because, you know, like if they have a passion for it, like there's definitely an opportunity. And, you know, we also like, you know, talk to this maybe like a few people that have had that dream and like, you know, try to mentor them in that way. But I think like the future of Chinese food in Houston will really be like people understanding more of the different styles of Chinese food and not just like lumping it all into one category. Yeah, yeah. And then also another thing is just, I think the definition of authenticity will really change because, you know, right now, like, you know, before even growing up, we're like, oh, authentic means like you have to order in Chinese. There's like probably the service is not the first priority. And like, you know, like a few other things that you're like, yeah, cleanliness, the bathroom is probably dirty. Like, it's okay. Like these are the marks of authenticity for a Chinese restaurant. But you know, like we are a new generation of Chinese Americans and authenticity means something very different for us because first of all, like we have access to more like different Chinese cultures. So like we learn more. And then we also use different ingredients. So, you know, in China, like they don't have they have access to these very, very different ingredients than we do. And so we have to kind of change flavors and use local ingredients and, you know, like us, like using the vegan and vegetarian or even just like, you know, less like no like MSG and like things like that, where like people might not have really made that their first priority in the past. So, you know, like our version of what I say, like, oh, Chinese American food is like the Chinese person that grew up in America, not just like Chinese American food for Americans, like, you know, that like catering to the people that, yeah, this is what we grew up eating and we know about Chinese food. And yeah, it's for that nostalgia, but also like it's accessible to anybody who like wants, you know, who's willing to try something. And it's, you know, yeah, something you can eat every day. And yeah, like can be like nutritious instead of like wanting to like hang on to some of those older stereotypes of like salty, fatty Chinese foods. Like, yeah, some of it is salty and fatty, but not all of it is because, you know, like there's actually a lot of balance in our meals, I think, in Chinese food. And, you know, I rarely see a Chinese family eat like, dinner without at least one vegetable on the table. And it's like, well, this is very normal for us. Like some foods are greasy and then some foods, are not, and some foods are salty and some foods are lighter. And, I try to explain that to some of our customers too. They're like, oh, what kind of food is this? And they're like, do you have hot and sour soup? And I say, no, that's like more of a Chinese American dish, but we have like more like Cantonese and Taiwanese inspired dishes, and it creates like a dialogue for them to understand more if they're willing to like engage with that.
Yeah. So obviously you guys have been in like this Houston restaurant scene for so long. What is so special about Houston and its food scene?
I think there's a lot of really special things. One thing is, I think that there's a very low barrier of entry. I don't know about like other like cities, but I think that people can like start a pop-up, and if their food is good, like they're able to succeed. It's not about like, oh, you have to work for these chefs first, you have to go to culinary school, or you have to like, go to this very specific path. There's very many different paths, people who like go from being engineers to being chefs, like pastry chefs. And like, there's a lot of like places you can come, and everyone takes a different path. And so I think it leads to a lot of creativity.
A lot of chance. A lot of chance in Houston.
Yeah, a lot of chances. Standard of living is like, it's so cheap to be able to like live. I mean, compared to other big cities.
Yeah.
And so, like it just gives people the opportunity to like learn, maybe for like a little bit lower pay sometimes, and, be able to try a lot of new foods because you're not spending like, over half of your income on rent. And so I think that like a lot of the people in Houston, like they just have like, we have this huge diversity and it's very embraced. And my favorite thing about the Houston community is just so like collaborative. We had like like I mentioned some of those bars earlier that, had helped us in the beginning, like get pop-ups. Like those same bars are like basically like we still support each other through like sharing on social media, and like, even like word of mouth, like telling our customers like, oh yeah, like there's this really cool bar here in the Heights called Johnny's. It's really small. You probably haven't heard of it. It's not going to be all over Instagram, but they have some of the best cocktails in town. And so like, just like this place where people are always like excited about food and sharing like about, oh, there's these really cool things that you might not know, and just continuing to support each other through like these small things.
So what would you guys say is your current customer demographic at your restaurant and at your pop-ups?
Well, the Urban Harvest one has a specific.
Yeah, so at the Urban Harvest Farmers Market, it is like a little bit more specific, a little bit higher income, because
It's in River Oaks.
It's in River Oaks, and so there's a lot of people in that neighborhood, and then people who come from like all over Houston. I would say like, yeah, a little bit higher income, probably predominantly white Americans in that area, but I think that they have been, like getting more like marketing and trying to like make it more accessible to different populations. And we have like now like, like tacos and pupusas and like, different stuff and tamales that, like kind of lend itself to a wider audience, more diverse audience. At the store, I would say like, we actually have a lot of like Asian Americans that follow our food, because like, it's actually so hard to find like good Asian American food like in the Loop. Like we are not saying that our restaurant is like better than Chinatown restaurants. It's really like proximity. Like if I'm in Chinatown, I'm not gonna drive to Dumpling Haus to get dumplings, and I wouldn't tell people to.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're in this part of town and you want something that's like, like dumplings, and you can eat here and maybe not drive like 20 minutes to Chinatown. So we have a lot of Asian Americans, definitely like people that like maybe like know a little bit more about like Chinese culture. So like, mid-20s to like 40, 50s.
Yeah.
And yeah, so especially in the neighborhood that we're in, it's like some young families, but actually a lot like of working professionals and like, yeah, people. So yeah, and a lot of vegans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys see a difference in like what maybe like Asian or Asian American people order that are more familiar with like the Chinese cuisine, or is it like about the same?
The braised pork belly and the beef noodle soup.
Oh yeah, the braised pork belly and the beef noodle soup are probably like the most popular things for like especially Chinese or Taiwanese Americans, just because like those are really nostalgic dishes for people, I think. And but I think that like we have like Chinese people, like Chinese Americans and Chinese people that immigrated here that like love the dumplings, buy them frozen, and like are just like really impressed with the quality and like love to just keep and supporting our business.
What do you guys think food has to do, like what kind of role does food have in people's lives, like bringing people together and just in general?
What role does food have in people's lives? So she used to host these like weekly parties at our house, invite all her friends, karaoke, and cook food for all her friends.
She's like, no potluck, I'm making everything. Like, don't bring anything, because also she just
even
prefers to eat her own cooking.
people, no potluck. I mean, if you want to bring it, that's fine. And then can I finish? Please take it home. Don't leave it here. I don't eat the.
I don't eat the people's
food. I don't eat the Yeah. We used to have I used to have a party every week, every Friday.
We live in like a small town home.
And then I have to make sure. Okay, today Saturday is a Mandarinese. Okay, Sunday is a Cantonese. Okay, make sure they can communicate well. I don't want people talk Chinese, Cantonese, and one people Mandarin, and then we all Cantonese have to speak Mandarin, because they don't know how to listen Cantonese, And then after since the 做功课點講? The homework is busy, and then I stop. After the homework get busy, and then I stop call people here.
And I like kind of learned from that, like when I like even like after school or like at night on the weekends, after church, like we would just like invite a bunch of people over and just like play games, and
we would like make like I think we were famous like for like making these big vats of shin ramen and like frying an egg and like throwing some vegetables, and everyone was like, okay, party at the Leicester's house, because like after church nothing's open in Sugar Land, and we would just make like food for everybody, because it was just like everyone's hungry after we were playing games at church, and so like it's fun to host. We would play board games, and like it brings
so most of the people, they know me, and then they've been trying my dumpling, because nothing else. People came in as are you hungry?
There's always dumplings in the freezer.
And I shared the dumplings. I shared dumplings a lot too in college. Like I would always have people come over and like, hey, like let's all get together and just eat like a simple meal. Like I'm just gonna cook it because I don't want to go out, or like I think that we can just like eat dumplings and eat like some vegetables and stuff. So I think food plays a really big role like in our family, and also like the way that we interact with others, and just like bringing like hospitality to people, and being able to like share our love of food, but also just like hanging out with people. And
that's great. So with the pandemic, like obviously that started last year, how has that really affected like your restaurant's business, especially because you guys opened like right before things started shutting down with lockdown?
At the very beginning, like so right before like restaurants had shut down in Houston, we had some like people who had made like racially insensitive comments towards us, like oh, don't put coronavirus in my dumplings, like just like really insensitive things, and it's really hard to like hear those things, especially when we didn't really understand like the severity of like how the pandemic was going to be at that time, like maybe February. Once like everything shut down, one thing that we had going for us is that we actually already had like this model that online ordering delivery was like really simple, so we didn't have to like change our whole like restaurant model. We just actually invested more in like marketing, and then really pushing hard for the frozen dumplings in general. And so like as people like weren't going out to eat and just trying not to go places as often, we were selling and like doing doorstep deliveries to a lot of for a lot of frozen dumplings, because
Yeah.
people could keep them in their fridge and our freezers and like have them like whenever they wanted. And then we did our own delivery, which was like pretty difficult because we were just running all over town. Yeah, because we just couldn't afford like the delivery fees in the beginning, and we were just hoping like, well, let's use the most of our time by doing our own delivery. And our like biggest like I think savior during the pandemic was having the farmers market, because it's an open air farmers market. They just took like the right precautions, having everyone wear masks, and also like all the vendors wore gloves while handling all the vegetables. It was actually like safer than shopping at grocery stores. And so like there, like we were able to continue like to promote our frozen dumplings, and it really helped us like get through those first few months and like pay our rent, because we were just so scared.
Yeah, that's great that like your menu was able to adapt and like business was able to combat the effects of the pandemic. So Dumpling House has earned a lot of like reputation and recognition over the past like few years since you guys started in 2016. Like, how does it feel to like have this success?
We're still like, oh my God, we have a restaurant. Like every day we wake up and I go to work, it's like, oh my gosh, we have a restaurant. Like even when right before when she signs the contract, she's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna open a restaurant. The day that we opened, and it was like crazy because it's Chinese New Year, we're just like, oh my God, we have a restaurant. Like it's still like very surreal. It's like, I mean, I don't think it's like fully hit us because we're still like running around like trying to figure out stuff too, and like trying to figure out how to grow our business or what to do next, especially like handling COVID. But we're still like, oh my gosh, making plans.
Yeah. I think that it's been pretty like cool too to see my mom like picture in like these local newspapers and stuff. It's like the dumpling queen, like dumpling artist and stuff. And you know, for her to be able to like just really enjoy like this thing that started off as kind of like a hobby and like a side thing, and then eventually like, you know, now like being into full time and maybe like, you know, growing more in, like probably hopefully growing more in the coming years. Yeah, so I mean, we don't really like focus on the awards and stuff, but it's cool to see like, you know, how like people who literally came to like our first pop-ups, or like, you know, been following us for like 5 years. So like, hey, I remember when you did a pop-up at Grand Prize Bar. Like, yeah, we remember too. Like now you have your own restaurant and I have my own restaurant. Yeah, we have a lot of like, especially we do the farmers markets, and it's almost like little restaurant incubators. Like you basically incubate an idea like ours, where, you know, like we have like even like our neighbor like Awesome Bites, they had like this incubator idea that was these like gluten-free vegan like muffins and baked goods and ice cream, and we both kind of started around the same time, and now we both have like stores right next to each other. It's like, yeah, but when we met each other, like neither of our businesses were actually even like formed yet. They were just ideas. And so to see like 5 or 6 years later, like, oh my gosh, you have a restaurant, I have a restaurant, everyone has a restaurant. Yeah, and just like be able to grow with people and like be really encouraged by that.
What are some lessons that you guys have learned since your start in 2016?
Well, the first thing is at pop-ups, we pretty much like mostly just bring dumplings, because we used to bring a lot of other things and everyone just wanted dumplings because, well, our name is Dumpling Haus. So like, you know, I was just like, oh, dumplings, okay. And we're like, but we have these other items that we worked really hard on. They're like, no, I just want dumplings. So now we just bring dumplings to the pop-ups and like, you know, at the store. We also learned how to be like way more efficient. Like we like load in and out like really quickly because, you know, like we get to events late sometimes and we're like, okay, we got to get in and out in 5 minutes. Yeah, things like that. For me, like I learned a lot about like managing a restaurant and like even like the construction stuff, opening all the opening things were really difficult for me, and I had to do like a lot of research and like talk to a lot of people. And yeah, that was like a huge challenge because I hadn't had like the experience of doing that before. But you know, I feel like, yeah, this is really good knowledge for me to be able to like help others like open up their spots too, hopefully in the future.
It's good for them to, you know, learn. See, they learn. I saw them. They learn a lot. They work so hard, you know.
Yeah.
They, oh, she's got, you know, this one is going to. She says she don't want to do it. She want to go to school, you know. I say you have to help because Emily, you know, she's the chef. You know, I say you have to help her, you know. See, until she, you know, everything goes smooth. But anyway, the good thing is at the beginning we don't invest a lot, and then they can learn a lot. I say you start this one, better go to school. You get more experience, you know. You don't know nothing, and then from the beginning, you know, until you know the restaurant is open, you know, you're wanting this, that you get a lot of experience for them, you know. That's good. I saw them, you know, I saw them work so hard. I say, oh, I don't want to, you know, at the beginning, not open yet. They every night came back. It's like 11 or something, you know. I said, what are they doing, you know? And then after open, and then I saw, oh my God, everything's so clean, you know. I never seen something, oh, so clean. And then that's why I say, oh, I don't want to stay over there. And then I saw them work so hard, you know. I say, no, it's okay. We do all the same thing when we work for somebody else. Say, okay, whatever, you know. Because I never worked hard like that, you know. I can't say it, you know. And I say, oh my God, you know, the thing is heavy, and then one back and forth, and then wash dishes, you know, clean the toilet, everything, you know, they do everything. So they say, okay, that's fine, you know. They say, Mom, we are young, you know, we can do it, you know.
I mean, she used to work pop-ups by herself, so we're like, if she can hustle, like, we gotta try to hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think my biggest lesson was like learning social media too. Because I don't really use a lot of social media. Like Facebook, I scrolled through it, and then it was like pandemic. I was like, oh gosh, like how do we grow our business? And then so it's like, I don't really take pictures of food to post like anymore. And then I was like, we had to like start using filters. I had to ask like, how do you like change this? And like, what is vivid? Like, and it's like, so I was like, and then I would like set timer because we were just like, oh, now everyone's working from home, so like we need to understand people's schedules too when they're going on social media. So I'm like, oh, people wake up a little bit later, like 9 o'clock, so I gotta post then. Like we were just trying to be like basically in people's faces, and I was just like, I rarely ever share what I'm really doing besides my dog. Like, so a lot of learning of like how to utilize social media to our advantage without like, because we didn't really have a budget for PR. So basically we became our own like marketing team, and we're like, does this look good? Like, how do we take a picture of this? And like, you know, does this look like delicious that someone that's never had our food would want to come here? Like, so like definitely social media was like the biggest learning curve for me.
Yeah. All three of you guys can answer this, but if you just take a step back and think about this journey in the past 4 years, what are each of your like best memories or best experiences with Dumpling Haus?
The festivals. Yeah. I think like we have this model, like we work really hard, and then as a family we're just like that, like we just love to like, we're just go-getters, like
we all workaholic.
Oh, we're all workaholics.
Yeah.
But like it's fun because like I think like when we first started doing
she's not she's not workaholic.
We started doing festivals, I think like we work hard, but then we also like learn to reward ourselves. And I think that's like the best is like after this like slightly traumatic experience of like working these festivals, we're like, oh my gosh, but then we're just like, oh, we made it, like, you know. It's nice to be able to enjoy that as a family.
I so enjoy the people, after they bought your dumpling and then, oh my God, so good.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
she loves watching.
good,
She loves watching people eat. I mean, we love watching people eat our food. They're just like, we'll like listen.
I had to make sure. Did they finish?
Oh yeah. Did they finish the food and just like them raving about it, or like whenever people post about like us, like we're like, oh, they like our food, or like they're telling other people, like, oh, like we have like the support, like word of mouth, like, or when people like, come to us,
or they tell me, oh, there's something in there. I want them to tell me something. It's good or bad. I still, I still want to hear. Sometimes I gave it first to my friend, and then they don't say nothing. I say, hey, tell me something. It's good. What do you mean it's good? Tell me what is good. What's not good? I want to hear what's not good.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite memories is like when we first started, she was doing like these very small pop-ups, like really few people. And then we finally did like our first like bigger event where, like she served like maybe like 100 people in like 2 hours. And she was like, wow, like that was so crazy. Like now we look back on it and we're like, that wasn't that much. We do way more now. And like, but it's like, she was like, that's so crazy. And then she just like came up to me. She's like, I really like doing this. How can we figure out how to like do more? She's like, can you find like some more events that I can work like this? And I was like, okay, like that was the very beginning. Like we hadn't even like really, done any, like that was before we even did a farmer's market or anything. And she just like, this is something I really like, this is like one of my dreams, like coming to America. She saw these like taco trucks and such. Like, how do I do that?
Yeah, because I'm the work for the wholesale, wholesale company, and then I always see the what is that
taco trucks?
Some of the truck they come to pick up the fajita, and then one box, 2 box. You finished? Yeah, we finished today. One day finished. I said, how do you do that? I try to figure out how do I get the truck, I don't know how to apply. I don't know how to build a truck, at that time. But now it's kind of better than food truck, but I still want a food truck,
You can still get one. It's not time.
It's really fun, you work for your hour.
Yeah.
You for your hour, And my friend, even my friend, he took me to a lot of places. He said, hey, you know what? You can come here for lunch, You can come here. That was before the pop-up. I said, I don't know how to make the chop, I don't know how to get it. So that's a kind of sick.
But it's cool too seeing her like when she's met a lot of chefs throughout the years too, especially like when we were at Grand Prize, is a more industry bar, and so we've had a lot of just cool like watching her bounce ideas or like hearing like chefs like, oh, that was so good, and like
yes, it's because Grand Prize Prize, all the chef, they came afterward, all the chef, oh, and then I was mentioned, oh, that restaurant, the dumpling is not that good, he said. And then finally, I find out he's make that dumpling. I said, you know what? I cannot say the dumpling is not good. I just say, what kind of dumpling? I just ask the waitress, what kind of dumpling? And then I said, oh, is that okay? I said, it's okay. And then they changed anyway. They took it back. And then a few months ago, right? He said, can you teach me how to make dumpling? He said, mine is tiny. He said, which restaurant? And then he mentioned the restaurant. Oh my God. Thank God I just say that,
So critical.
But that working pop-up is really fun. You can talk to the people, meet people, and then ask them how they like it. But now I keep inside the kitchen, making dumpling. I don't have time to talk to people.
Yeah.
I wish I had the window, doing outside.
Yeah. So finally, what are your guys' goals for Dumpling Haus in the future?
So we want to be able to actually increase our production a lot, and be able to maybe sell like some frozen products in local, like not grocery stores, but maybe some like local like bodega type style markets, like that feature Houston centered products. Another thing that like I thought would be really cool is actually to start like making noodles, because you know, we do sell a lot of noodles and noodle soups at our restaurant, and we don't really have the capacity right now to, or even space to make our noodles ourselves. But I think like in the hopefully coming years, we'll be able to like add that to our thing, and then people can find like, you know, like Dumpling Haus noodles in their local grocery stores.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also like we would really love to be able to like ship some of our like vegan offerings, maybe the vegan dumplings, to other parts of the US, just because like we think it's a really unique and it's a product that I think can stand on its own, like, you know, all across like probably the world, but especially in the US, as people are moving more towards like plant-based diets. I think that our vegan dumplings are just some of our like most unique products that we have. Other than that, I think it's just trying to grow in our space at Sawyer Yards. We are there for at least 10 years. And so,
9
yeah, oh, sorry. It was 10, now it's 9. At least 9 left. Yeah. But, you know, trying to figure out like how that area will be growing too.
because it is a growing area.
Yeah, and so we are hoping that we'll be able to sell some like beer and wine in like hopefully in the next year, and just kind of make it a like a neighborhood like spot where you can get some Asian groceries. We had this one time where we ran out of bok choy, like baby bok choy, and the closest place we could go is Ranch 99. It's like 15, 20 minutes away. And so I was just thinking like, where do people buy baby bok choy? Like, you know, during the week, if they don't want to go to Ranch 99, it's so far. And so like, oh, maybe like, you know, in the future, like we can sell baby bok choy, and it's like, you know, easy for people to get their baby bok choy and like tofu, and like, you know, you go to Chinatown and you go to the tofu as a whole aisle. There's literally 50 kinds of tofu. And then like, you know, at some of the local grocery stores, like there's like maybe like a lot of tofu, but there's only like 4 kinds.
Yeah.
And I like try to explain to people, no, this is like also fried tofu, but there's like actually like 10 different kinds of fried tofu. Yeah, so like just trying to educate people more about like our products, and like some of the ingredients we use, and just creating like an overall more appreciation for Chinese food.
Yeah. I think that's all the questions that I have prepared. Is there anything else that you guys would like to add to the interview?
Anything to add? No. Well, yeah. That's all I think.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.